everyone, and welcome to episode number 1 of the Orange and Brown for Life podcast. My name is Sean Douglas, and originally when I first started setting up the first episode, I was just going to do an introduction video, and that was it. And I apologize if you're hearing any beeps in the background. I'm actually traveling at the moment, and my vehicle has some sort of tracker sensor that goes off every once in a while. But anyway, back to what I was going to say. Originally, I had planned on just doing an introduction video, and that was it. But prior to recording this, a bunch of stuff has happened with the team, and I figured that I'll still do the introduction portion of the episode, but then right after that, we're going to jump right into some topics. Most notably, Joe Flacco being announced as the week one starter against the Cincinnati Bengals. We'll get into that a little bit. But anyway, let's get the introduction part over. Like I said, name's Sean Douglas. I am in my 40s. I have been a Browns fan basically since I was probably 9 years old. That wasn't my first memory of the team, though. My first memories of the team were actually when I was around 6. I think I was actually 7 at the time. Because it was right after the Browns playoff game when John Elway made that miraculous comeback at the end there with the drive. I remember being at my mom's friend's house, and her husband and his buddies were all watching the game. And the game just, their TV men cave area just happened to be down in the basement where the kids' playroom was at too. So while we're sitting there playing with toys, I would keep glancing over to see what was going on with these guys while they were hooting and hollering at a TV about who knows whatever was going on, because at the time I didn't know any better. And it was, of course, the Browns game, and I was so fascinated with what was going on the TV that I kind of forgot about the toys that was in front of me. And, you know, I remember bits and pieces, not all of it, because I was so young. But I do remember the heartbreak at the end when Denver made their comeback. And little did I know, once I became a fan of the team, I was going to have a lot of those same feelings, just not in those big games. But, you know, after that, I kind of started paying attention to football a little bit more. I'd say probably around 9. It's when I really started following it. And, of course, being here in Ohio, I wasn't close enough to Cincinnati to kind of adopt them as my team, but I was closer to Cleveland. I'm actually only like a half hour, 40 minutes away from Cleveland. So the Browns pretty much became my team. It also helped that my uncles and grandfather and all them were Browns fans. So I kind of already had that built-in team already, but it just took me a little bit longer to discover them. But once I did, I've been hooked ever since. And as the name of the podcast goes, I will forever be Orange and Brown for life. No matter, you know, good or bad, it's just how it is. And I'll never, ever give up on the team, no matter how bad it gets. And obviously there's been a whole lot more bad than good as of late. Or at all, really. Fortunately, I was young enough that I got to see some of the Kozar years. So I did get to witness at least some winning at the time. But, you know, once the team was stolen from us and we got them back as a quote-unquote expansion team, it just really hasn't been the same. But again, I'm a Browns fan. I'm going to stick with the team no matter what. But what you won't get on this podcast is me being a quote-unquote homer, because I'm going to tell you how it is. We're going to keep it, you know, honest here. If they're doing good, we're going to talk about the good. If there's some bad, we're going to talk about the bad. Essentially, what I want to do with this is I'm just a normal person. I don't have any, you know, broadcasting or radio, you know, experience or anything like that. I'm just a civilian, basically, a fan of the Browns, and I want to talk about it. I want people to listen to me talk about it. Hopefully, you all find me and you listen. That's my whole goal here. But like I said, you're never going to find me being a homer. Of course, if there's positive, I'm going to be positive about it. But like I said, if bad things happen, then we're going to talk about the bad things. So that essentially is my introduction in the episode here. And I hope you guys like the show. I hope you come back for more. Obviously, I'm going to be doing a lot of episodes before, during, and some after the season, depending on how far they go, which isn't expected to be far. What I'm going to do after the season, we'll have to kind of wait and see on that. Hopefully there's enough good topics than bad topics going after that. We'll see. But we got plenty of time to get to that. So, going back to what I said in the beginning, originally, nothing but an introduction video, but so much stuff has happened, we're just going to go ahead and jump into it. The most recent news that broke was yesterday when it came out that Joe Flacco has been announced as the Week 1 starter against Cincinnati, which basically is something that we all really were expecting to happen. We weren't expecting Kenny Pickett to get injured with a hamstring injury and not come back forever. Who knows, he might not make it to this preseason game, the finale against the Rams. So, and yeah, some people was hoping that maybe Shedeur Sanders or maybe even Dylan would get the start. But honestly, we all knew that Flacco was going to be the one. Unless he was hurt or looked horrible in practice, it was going to be Flacco from the beginning. It just took him a little bit longer. And I'm sure the injuries helped push that a little bit more. But it is what it is. Joe Flacco is your starter, and we're going to find out what he does. Hopefully he can regain some of that magic from a couple years ago. Highly doubt it, but you never know. And to that point from 2 years ago, and I'm just going to say this out loud, and I know a lot of people, not for me, but I've heard other people mention it, and there was some pushback from it, but nothing will ever change my mind on the fact that sitting the starters against Cincinnati in that last game before their wildcard game against the Texans, I believe that was the biggest mistake Stefanski and the Browns made. I think if he would have played, maybe not the whole game, maybe the whole game, if he would have played some of that first or last game that they set out, I think we might have had a different outcome to the first wildcard game. And maybe I'm wrong. Maybe the Browns still lose regardless. But my personal opinion, I felt that that team had not been there enough times to benefit really from sitting out the last game of the season. It isn't like the team goes every year to where a game doesn't mean anything. They've already made the playoffs. It's meaningless. We're going to set our starters. I get why they did it, but again, nothing is ever going to change my mind. That's the reason why they played so poorly against Houston. The whatever momentum that they had going into that game, I think was completely wiped out when they set against Cincinnati. And that's I'm never ever going to believe otherwise. So going back, Joe Flacco is your Week 1 starter. And I think it's very important why they picked Flacco to be the Week 1 starter. As much as people say that this season is going to be a wasted season, the team is not trying to lose. They're trying to win. And as we all know, Joe Flacco gives them the best chance to win right now. Does he throw a lot of deep balls? Yes. Does he throw a lot of interceptions? Unfortunately, yes. But still, as we all know, he is a seasoned vet. He has been in the league for a long time, has had playoff and a Super Bowl champion, in him at some point. And he, 100% makes the team better in some ways, regardless of how old he is. So I completely get why Joe Flacco was named the starter. However, we still have 2 rookies on this team in Shedeur Sanders and Dylan Gabriel who have both played and showed at least a little bit in the preseason, even though we know that we can say the preseason doesn't matter. It matters, but it doesn't. in the scheme of things. And it's already came out that Jimmy Haslam wants to see what these rookies can do. Because we got to. Because the future, is in jeopardy. If they're going to actually draft a quarterback next season, or in the draft next year, they have to find out what they have in these two quarterbacks. But looking at this, as they call it, the gauntlet that they have to deal with in the first 6 weeks, you're not going to throw two rookies in there who were 3rd and 5th round picks respectively, and it doesn't matter what you perceived what Shedeur Sanders should have been drafted. He was a 5th round pick. That's how it goes. He's going to be treated like a 5th round pick until he can prove something. But in my humble opinion, what I think we're going to see is Joe Flacco for the first 6 weeks, and then they will reevaluate how the team is after that Pittsburgh game. And I think then you will see what direction the team is going to go and in which rookies they're going to play. So I see no issue whatsoever with starting Joe Flacco. I see no downside to it other than we want to see what the rookies can do. But if it's already going to be a wasted season, then you might as well see what the rookies can do. But again, the players are trying to win. They're not going into this season going, well, I've worked so hard this year. I've worked so hard in the weight room and everything, eating right and getting in shape ready for the season. And let's just throw the towel in before the season even starts. That's not going to happen. So the team's going to try to win until they are out of that window. Realistically, they're probably going to lose a lot of those first 6 games unless Joe Flacco catches that same lightning in a bottle from 2 years ago and just starts throwing up godly numbers and touchdowns and yards and all that. That's about the only way I think you're going to see anything good in the first 6 weeks of the season. I would look at his success. I would look at the first 6 games in a successful light if they go 3-3. If they're 3-3 after 6 games, I say keep rolling with Flacco. Let's see what else he can do. If they are 2-4, 1-5, 0-6, heaven forbid, please don't be 0-6. That would be the absolute worst outcome. And if 0-6 happens, you're probably going to see Flacco be taken out sooner than later. You'll see one of the other 2 rookies in probably, unless Kenny Pickett's still there and he's healthy enough to play. You might see him after that. But if they're 0-6, you can forget about it. Flacco probably won't make it 6 games if that happens. So in the long run, in the end, I have no issue with them starting him. I know it doesn't show us anything. It doesn't show the team what we have in the rookies just yet. But until the season is basically a foregone conclusion that they're not going to do anything, you'll start seeing these rookies play. And which one you see first, who knows? I would probably bet on seeing Dylan Gabriel before Shedeur, only because of how the team has basically told you that that's who they wanted from the beginning, and Shedeur just kind of fell in their lap. But until then, Joe Flacco is your starter. That's how it is. And, we have one more preseason game to go, and then we get this going for real beginning of September. So, looking forward to the season as always. Always hopeful. Usually that hope ends in tragedy midway through the season at the shortest time. And, let's hope that doesn't happen, but, it's just kind of a wait and see, and we'll find out soon enough. So I think that's going to do it for today's episode, guys. Hope you enjoyed the show. I'll be back, hopefully, here soon with another episode. We got plenty of stuff to still talk about, plenty of stuff happening with this team that we can discuss. And, again, I just hope to see you guys in the next one. So, hey, until the next episode, you guys have a wonderful day. And as always, Orange and Brown for life. Go Browns.